Okay, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure. Apparently today I'm your host. Reverend Oliver might be still in Korea. I'm not sure, but we welcome you all. Today we have a dynamic speaker, Mr. Muhammad. So we look forward to hearing of what he's doing in the community, what past, present, and future. Again, welcome to Stopping the Violence. Um, this is our third year. I think March actually marked our third year anniversary. So as we continue for prayerfully many years to come, we've had so many different disciplines and so many different people just coming on and talking about, where the community is as far as violence and what they're doing to protect and to serve their communities. Today with Mr. Muhammad, he's gonna speak to us from his heart and his experience, past, present, and future. And I understand he's the brother of Minister VJ Smith. Is that correct, Mr. Muhammad? We can't hear you. Turn your volume up. Can you turn your volume up? So we're grateful that uh, we're grateful that he received our invitation and is willing to share his experience with us. So now I have to find his resume. I have it. No, we can't hear you, Mr. Muhammad. There's Minister BJ. Hey, Minister BJ.
Good morning, top of the morning to you. Yes, that is my big brother, and
All
I'm
right.
excited. Good to see you back in the United States of America. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
Oh
yes,
my,
yes. But we had a glorious time, didn't we?
yes, we did. Yes,
We
we
had a
did.
glorious time.
And I just got to say, man, your wardrobe selection was amazing. You and your husband, y'all were looking good, and just it was just a man. God was just moving. I don't think we'll ever be the same after that trip. Things have really been um, motivating and inspiring for all of us to make a new step into this next generation for our future and for the stop the violence and peace around the world.
Yes, yes. And you come back with a different spiritual level every time you make that trip. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So we're just blessed. We're blessed, and God keeps reminding us that He's in control no matter what. And we come forth on this webinar and able to share different life experiences, able to share what we're doing in the community, and to move forward into the future because nothing stops. Time keeps moving. Time, and now it seems to me, maybe it's my age, it seems to me that it's moving pretty rapidly.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And I think that, it's time for us, everybody to step up. We have an assignment to do. If we're going to change this world, we have to walk in our assignment. So many people are walking around well about the material things, but they forget that there's some spiritual stuff that we have to do, that you're assigned to do that. And so it's our job to wake those people up and let them know and educate them about really what we're supposed to do while you're on this planet. You have something to do. It's just not fun and games, but it's also about what you can do to change the direction of your family and your community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what I love and appreciate about Dr. Hatcha Moon is she's concerned with every living soul. She wants everyone to be able to receive and understand that heaven will go will prayfully, because he says some ain't gonna get in, even they'll say hollering Lord, Lord. Some's not gonna get in, but she's given us the message that heaven is here on earth, and you have to be able to receive it. And as you receive it and as you walk in it, God said He will draw all men nigh unto Him, and He's using us as his spiritual people, as his spiritual children, to be able to get that message out there and to change things around, to move things forward in a positive over the negative. So again, I welcome everyone. John Healy, it's good to see you. Andrea, you're always here with us. I appreciate you. Linda, thank you so much for coming on. And again, Reverend Oliver, he might be still in Korea. I'm not sure. I wasn't aware that I was hosting today, but he know that if he's not here, that I have no problem stepping in. So again, I welcome you. I'm gonna find Mr. Muhammad's
Can you hear me now?
bio. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
we can
sir.
hear you now.
Okay.
There
I
you
can hear
go.
you now.
There you go, big brother. Sounded good. Sounded good. We're ready for your testimony. We're ready for all the great things you have to share with us today.
Yes. I've been, as they say, I've been waiting with bated breath. I just have to find his resume, his bio, and then we'll be able to move forward. But we definitely welcome you, sir.
I appreciate it. I appreciate being here.
Oh my, let's see. If I had known I was hosting, I would have looked for this earlier.
I think you got it in your text.
I don't have the bio in my text. It's in my email.
Oh, it's in email? Okay.
Yeah. As they say, I hate it when this happens. I had so many, and then I had sent it out. Just be patient with me just a little bit longer. That's it. I'm trying to find it on my phone.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm not
While
going
you
to take
looking,
I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I'm just going to have Mr. Muhammad to tell us about himself. How about that?
that's
So,
great.
Mr.
Yeah.
Muhammad, could you? Well, I'm introducing to some of you, and presenting to others, Mr. Muhammad, as he comes forth and shares with us his past, present, and future experiences and what he has been doing in the community. So, Mr. Muhammad, you're on.
Well, in my past, at an early age, I was involved with criminal activity. I was young. I first went to jail. I was in the sixth grade. My father, which is VJ's father, he was real social. He did a lot of social things, and my mother was real spiritual. And I was into that, but I was also into that street type. Uh, I love the streets, but I ended up going to prison early. I dropped out of school in the 10th grade, and that's where I found out that I really love education, learning, and I began to study civilizations, science, mathematics, uh, society. And so I got out, got in college, and wound up in Texas, going to university, Texas Southern University. But I got back involved and had bought a house, had children, but I slipped back into crime and went to prison again. And that's when I really realized that it shouldn't have took prison for me to find myself. So I began to help brothers in prison find themselves. And uh, I'm Muslim, but I didn't care what I was. I wanted to help other people find themselves. We all human beings. And so I began to get involved in real estate and open houses for uh, men, but I had just got out. So it wasn't nothing much that I could do because I just got out. Even though I had a house for them to stay in, I couldn't design a program for them. So I did purchase some property in Fort Worth, which is where I am now. And that's when I ran into a guy that had some ideas about putting a place where women could reintegrate. So he's a Christian, so we've been working together ever since 2013, helping women reintegrate back into society. And one of the things that y'all was talking about was violence. And a lot of times we don't look at violence as a downfall of our progress. And violence is embedded in the culture of the American society. It began with violence. And that's something that I think a lot of people forget. Violence is embedded in our society. When it was a colony, we was brought here as slaves. Violence. The Indians was robbed of their humanity. Violence. And along the way, as society progressed, you'll see violence. And whether it's with the Revolutionary Wars, Civil Wars, the period of Reconstruction, and the period where women was beginning to vote, Jim Crow, you're going to see violence. Violence stopped human progress. And so many contemporary thinkers, as we see today, try to cover up history. So our minds is not on the historical aspect of violence. We looking at aspects of it without looking at the whole thing. And we see often, we learned a long time ago, if you forget your history, you're bound to repeat it. We used to say that all the time growing up. You know, I don't know how old you are, Doc, but you know, that's something that
I'm
we
in
said.
there.
That's something we said a lot. We say that often and often and often. And the story of the American people is a story of violence. And I went back just looking at just some of the violence because that's one thing I saw was just dealing with them women, that was part of the problem. And one thing I realized is that in this culture, it's going to be difficult to change the whole culture of violence. And so our sights should be on the individual. If we could change the individual, then eventually the culture of society will change. You know, so that's where I began with the house dealing with the women. And even in the culture, I remember reading some things a while back dealing with manifest destiny. I don't know if y'all heard of that in the past, but where we wasn't supposed to be in charge of ourselves. It was only a few people that's supposed to be in charge of society. And it's still kind of set up like that. And it's things thrown in society like drugs, guns that people put in society to manipulate society and give. I see in the women that we have sex trafficking. We got uh, prostitution. We got drugs. We got things that in society that allow the women not to see value in themselves. And that's with violence. Violence is not just with guns.
That's right.
Really, is more deeper than that because it wants to hit you as many ways that it possibly can. You know what I'm saying? Only what it really wants you to do is don't see no value in your potential. So we created the Good Girls Agency, and we help women, like I say, reintegrate back into society. And we have women, we house 22 women now, and we never been funded by any government agency. We want to see as far as we could go ourselves with establishing our project. And so we open business to help fund what we're doing. And so most of the women come in there, they don't have confidence. Some of them been using drugs since they was 11 and 12. Most of them been having sex at an early age. Most of them done burned down all the bridges that they had with their parents. Most of them have their children taken away from them with CPS, you know, and most of them use some type of substance. And we help them by teaching them to invest in themselves, number one. You know, you don't always look out for handouts. Invest in yourself as much as you can, even with your thoughts. Invest in yourself. It's more than just money. And human possibilities, I began to study that in prison. Human possibility, because the way the sociologists have presented possibilities to the human being, I noticed how they was giving the environment more potential than the human being. And I believe that's not where God set it up. I believe just by studying two folks or two siblings in the same home, one may go to crime just like me. My sisters and them, they didn't go to crime. So human possibility from my studies says that the potential we got from our creator, God, is greater than the environment. You see what I'm saying? We just have to just dig a little deeper and not be distracted by the environment and get overcome by it. So them are some of the things that we teach them about self-esteem. They come in, like I say, with low self-esteem, no values. They don't believe in themselves. And like I said, we've been doing it since 2013. And we help them with employment, and we help them get back with their families if possible. Because sometimes that takes a while. After we got one that's been using drugs 40 years. And now we see the population changing because crack is leaving. So you have more blacks on crack. And now you got it with that fentanyl, and you got it with that methamphetamine. So our white population with women have changed. We got a little more white than black. And I called around to other facilities in the United States, and theirs is changing also. with that methamphetamine, and a lot of them come in. They are they feel entitled because of they white and they background. So what we try to do is show them uh, that greater part of humanity. That you gotta, and most of them they go to church, and I got a friend of mine that VJ know named Troy. He's a Mexican. He opened up his own church, and his wife, he was on crack. His wife made him go to a facility for treatment, and he stayed so long he didn't want to leave. And she told him that, God got a greater calling for you, and if you don't leave, I'm gonna leave. So he didn't realize that he was gonna become a pastor, but that's what happened to him. So we've had great uh, success. And another thing I see in the women was a lot of fear. And that's what violence does, to make you have a lot of fear in your possibility. And so that has been a difficult uh, task to help them instill in themselves, because we can't empower women, we can help them empower themselves. And that fear and that self-esteem is what really we see as the main element in holding them down and back. And a lot of them run back to violence. They run back to homelessness. Homelessness is a great. Most of the women we got, if we didn't have them, they would be homeless in the streets. Homelessness is violence. Whether they get physically beat up, that's not violence. I mean, that is violence, but a lot of them is just that emotional. That's part of the violence that's coming from society that never wanted anybody to be anything. And that's really what I see in violence being associated with progress. And we studied the gun violence and domestic violence, but I've studied where they had put gun violence, domestic violence, and problems of violence in the urban areas. They put their focus on that to distract us from the whole focus. You see what I'm saying? So, that's just part of it. But if they can keep the focus on domestic violence, gun violence, and the violence in the urban areas, then the real focus won't be in changing the culture. And that's one thing we got to really work on with this. It's going to take a long time to change the culture in America. It's just going to, my thing is just helping individuals change their lives. If you change the condition, your own condition, God will change your condition, but you got to work on yourself, and God ain't never left us.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? He never left us, but we left ourselves. And as we leave ourselves, we got to come back to ourselves to be able to reconcile with our Creator. And so that's one thing that I really work on in women with, is knowing yourself, knowing something about yourself. Get back to yourself, you know. Appreciate who you are. Have gratitude for the things you have. And one day, Doc, maybe you can come down and give a talk to some of the women. And
Absolutely.
I'm putting something together now dealing with self-care because every year I do something like self-care and bring different people in so the women can uh, learn something about, caring about self. And one thing I see now that's going on, because when we created the program, we wasn't looking for borders, women that stayed for a long, long period of time. But way the society is changing, women don't really have a place to go. You know what I'm saying? They just don't have a place to go because to make it out here, you got to at least have somebody else other than you, really. You know what I'm saying? You just if you by yourself as a woman coming out of prison, and most of them maybe make $500 or $600 a week, it's gonna be difficult for them to keep a place, get their children back, and just pay gas, pay lights, pay everything else, and have something left over. So, a lot of them say, well, we want to stay here. So we can have something to stay here as much as 3, 4 years now.
Mm. Wow. Wow. And that's interesting because what I noticed, and you repeated it a couple of times, you said knowing their worth, having that value, their self-esteem. And life happens, we think about it sometime as the choices that we make, but sometimes we don't know why a person make those choices. So as life happens, it's a blessing that that you guys are able to provide a place. When you talk about investing in yourself, once you are disregarded, that's a hard thing to that's a hard place to come back to, that you are important, that you are valuable. So you're right, you have to reteach them those things. Somewhere there has to be a connection to say, well, yeah, I remember when I was in a good place, but it's so many layers of that, it's hard to get back to that place. So when you take a person, I worked in the prison system for 13 years. I worked in the women's prison for 2 years and worked 11 years in the men's institution. But in that process, while they were there, we were able to have groups. We were able to
Mhm.
prepare them, to be released. And a lot of times they had burned those bridges and they didn't have any place to go. So we had a case manager that if in the 90-day release process that will start kind of leading them to community resources in different places. But to come out of prison and don't have anyone or anything, that's starting all over. Things have changed. So you guys are providing a major support system and a place for them to be able to go to have that fresh start. So I appreciate, the work that you're doing. I would love to come down and do a workshop. Right now, I do a self-care, I call it soul care
Right.
workshop,
Okay.
and it's through therapeutic art. So we color for an hour. We color, we play music, and during that time, as the Lord leads me, whatever they're coloring, I can the gift will allow me to interpret what they're feeling at that particular time. You have some that will go back to their childhood when they actually colored. You have some that have been just so busy and life has taken over that they don't have the time for themselves. But that coloring is a place of self-reflection. It's a place of self-expression. It's a place where you can be totally free, just you and whatever that piece of art that you're creating at that particular time. So it works very well. We used to use it for patients with dementia.
Okay.
So it art therapy works really well. We color. I'm going in May or June. I'm going to actually do a session with pour painting, where you just pour the paint on the canvas and let it run. You can
Let it
use a
run.
tool, to drag it through, but you'll be surprised the chemicals that are released in the brain at that particular time that can that could cause a switch to come on to make a different connection to your surroundings, to your environment. And I clearly heard you say that we talk about drugs in the urban community. We don't always talk about it in the suburbs, but it's just as prevalent in the suburbs as it is in the urban community. The urban community is just more pronounced. You hear about it all the time. And I remember when I was a little girl, my dad said, if you go out there and get in trouble, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
My best friend was a white girl. Her name was Tina Smith. He said, you're going to jail. Tina's going to a mental institution because it has to be something wrong with her for her to act out that way. But for you to act out that way, it's cultural, and that's what they expect. So there
Right.
is there is a difference in the two. But when we talk about violence come in so many different ways. We talk about mental abuse.
Mental.
A
Yeah.
person is not beating on you physically, but they can tear you down mentally to the degree where you can't even function in an environment. So I appreciate the fact, and I appreciate the fact you said one person at a time. We used to say each one teach one.
Each one
And now
teach.
I think they say each one reach one. But either which way, if you can help one person along the way to get on a track of stability, and that has to become a mindset. The word tells us we have to renew our mind daily. So those behaviors that they have, those behaviors have to be changed. But in order for those behaviors to be changed, it has to be something, there has to be something positive that's there has to be something positive to replace that negative behavior. We oftentimes say is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. It's lunacy. But if that's all you know, that's all you know. And until you learn something different, then you'll continue down that same path. But sound like you guys are giving the women the tools that they need to make some changes. So again, I appreciate the work that you do. The floor is open. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Mr. Muhammad?
Yeah, I want to say that I know I want to add, Stop the Violence is also about him being, and I want him to talk a little bit about it. It's also about him coming out of being in incarceration for so many years and then bringing his family. His his sons and daughters are doing really well, but they weren't doing so well when he was incarcerated. But when he got out,
Mm,
he made a point to make sure to transform his children. And Big Brother, I'd like for you to talk about that because so many times people come out and they're just looking out for themselves. But or the kids don't want to be bothered, they don't want to have anything. But you challenged them and you brought them around. And I look at your daughters, they're traveling all over the country, they're doing positive things. But that's because you poured into them as a father. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when I was became incarcerated, one of the first things, because I had been in prison once, and really I had all the tools I needed to become become. And when I went to prison again, I had bought, like I said, I bought a house. We had some babies. I love my children a lot. And sometime, and this is what I teach them girls, sometime when you get involved with something you know will destroy you, you may lose control of your destiny, and the thing that you touch took you on and began to destroy you even worse than what it was before. And that's kind of what happened to me. And when I was incarcerated, I kept asking myself, how did I get in a place I don't want to be? And I was getting depressed really behind my children. And the sister, I seen I went to an infirmary, I seen a sister, and she said, Mikhail, you don't have time to become depressed. You just don't have the time.
Mm.
She said, she told me that on myself, she said that I gave up my interest. And anytime you give up uh, anything, she said it's a natural phenomenon that something from outside will come in and destroy it if you don't take care of it. Whatever you got, if you don't take care of your car, she said, you don't change your oil, you don't change your water, you don't protect your house. What you don't protect, something from outside will come and destroy it. You don't protect your mind. He kept telling me all this. So she said it's a natural phenomenon. If you leave your bread open, rodents gonna come in. That's just how it goes.
Right.
You got to close
Yes.
it up. You got to protect it. If you don't protect your interests, something gonna come. And she kept telling me it over and over again. And so that started me really looking closer at myself. And I went back to as far as I could go back and just look at myself. And, I realized that one thing I was a risk taker. And, that's what got me in trouble. You taking risks. We do that in business, but when you doing that on the streets, it's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
And so when I got out, my children was involved in little stuff, stealing out of stores and doing, because their mother kept calling me. She said, "You got to get out and get these children because uh, your daughter's bringing men in the house." And I think one of my daughters with one guy, as soon as my youngest daughter started messing with him too, and all, a lot of crazy stuff. So, that's one of the first things I did was get with my daughters, you know, and my daughter said, "Daddy, didn't you know that what you did was gonna take us from you? We would
Mm.
be separated. We don't know how we would be if you didn't go." So, I created a relationship. My son was so mad. He started, I think about 6 years old, he just started acting a fool wherever he was. He looked for me up under the bed, in the closet for 2 whole years, you
Wow.
know. And so my wife had told me, she said, yeah, this boy, he's managed. It took me from, I got out 2002 to 2010 to develop a good relationship. He was the hardest one. My daughters, the love was instant. My older son's love was instant. But him, he loved me so much that he stayed mad for 8 years after I got out for us to,
Mm.
for us to jail. And we talk every day now, you know what I'm saying? But and I teach them girls about relationships with their children, and it takes time. Don't expect these children to run up on you and love you because you say you're gonna do the right thing. They got to see you do the right thing,
Mhm.
So uh and my daughters, we talk all the time, and they into one of my daughters, she got like a therapy. They do therapy. They got their own business, and they deal with uh, policemen, firemen, first responders, and so they make over $1 million a year. Doing with insurance and how they do business. And my other daughter, she's in real estate, but my and boys are kind of behind in women, and women faster, they more mature than the men, and a lot of people won't admit it, but I see it. I mean, I saw that a while back. Women are mature, you know. Hey, women mature fast, they think fast. My son's still kind of lagging. He's not doing wrong things, but I mean, he's he's taking his time. You know what I'm saying? I told him, man, you got to speed this thing up a little, man.
Mhm.
But that's what I'm saying. The one thing I learned is you can look at how civilization treat women, then you could tell, you know, the uh, the level of value that civilization had because every human being come from a woman. It's not a
Mhm.
woman, it's not a human being here that didn't come through a woman. But women get treated the most rawest. And I see that when we started this, people kept telling me, I don't know why you having a place for women. They not, he told us, or she told us too, what women not gonna do because you got women that say, I don't even mess with women. I've been hearing that for a while. I don't know if you heard that before, Doc.
Yeah.
So that's why I jumped on my daughters and just, you know, uh, still have long talks with them about their lives, business, future, family, and values and morality. Because like I say, we grew up. We had a middle class. I imagine it at that time. We living in the same house all my life. With my mother and my father. So my father was kind of like uh, out there with women sometimes. That's why I BJ my brother. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, you know, but, you know, that was all his real problem, which I ain't gonna say it's light. But hey, I'm glad he did that, VJ. We brothers, man.
That's right.
All
Yeah.
right. Brothers from another mother, the love is still the same.
Oh,
Brothers
yeah.
are
Amen.
brothers are brothers. And you talk about that and you said your daughters, uh, sometimes I don't think it's realized how important it is for a father to be involved with not only their daughters but with their sons. Now I heard you say that your sons are just a little behind, but the momentum is different for a female than it is for a male because the female figures that she has to get it. She has to get it. She got to stand on her own. Back in the day, they used to say that the mother sometime had to be the mother and the father. Well, no, she could never be the mother and the father, but she could be
Right.
the best mother she could possibly be. And we have the sensory perception that we have to make things happen. Like you said, everything that has been born has came through the womb of a woman. So in that strength and that tenacity, and even you being locked up and being separated from your daughters, they still knew you were their dad.
Yeah.
And I know that you had shown them something over the years that they were able to stand on, that they were able to believe in. They gave them some type of vision and focus. If my dad's not here, this is what I need to do, for me. And with your sons, they'll get it. It was said years ago that women are 7 years more mature than their age, where
Right.
chronologically, the immaturity, the man is kind of there wherever his age is. That's where his maturity level is. But again, I commend you for coming out, going home, and taking care of your family and helping them to put things back into perspective of where they wanted to go and who they wanted to become. So the seeds were sowed, and apparently you and your wife did a good job, because your children, are
Yeah.
doing well. Don't count the boys out yet. They still
No.
got time. They working on it.
It-
And VJ, thank you so much for introducing us to your brother, because I always say history comes about, his story comes about because everyone has one. You know what I mean? And we have to begin to value each other's story. Your story might not be like mine, but because of humanity, and when God said that he will make man and make man in his likeness and in his image, he set a precedence for us to grow and to move forward, honoring and respecting one another. Yeah, some fall by the wayside. We all have had our trials and tribulations. But when you talk about incarceration, working in the prison system, what I begin to realize, some guys were incarcerated and some guys were being set apart. Some guys were being set apart, that they could hear from God and they could have another focus, and they could come out and do things differently. So even Paul and Peter went to jail. That jail experience is something that only you can explain. Somebody might say, somebody else might have done time and say, man, I know what it's like to be in jail. Yeah, I was in jail. But their experience wasn't like your experience, because you had a deeper content, because you wanted to get home to your children. Some people go to jail, they get out of jail, and they go right back to jail. It's a cycle. I've seen them come to jail, and it's like having a family reunion. The dad is there, the uncle is there, the brother is there, his cousin's there, and they're like, hey, Boopy, how you doing? What's going on out there on the streets? But that's their mindset.
Yeah.
That's their mindset, and that cycle has continued. You have some people that's out here in the world, out here on the streets, that has never been to jail. However, in their mind, they're incarcerated, because they're
I
limited.
know.
They're limited in their thinking. So again, I commend you for being there for your family. Thank you, VJ, for bringing that out. He mentioned it a little bit, but he didn't really go into detail about it. So I thank you for being here to bring that out, because that's something that I think we have to understand, because the thought is people do bad things and they go to jail. Well, I know some innocent people that went to jail.
Right.
And we all have witnessed that guys have done 10, 20 years, and now they're being released because it was found that they were actually innocent. And there's no monetary gain for that, and they come out with no skills. Some come out with no
Right.
skills, some come out with no home to go home to.
Right.
So everybody that's in jail, some have committed crimes, but they're not all bad people.
Right.
I met some beautiful souls in jail, and their problem was they outsmarted themselves.
Yeah.
Greed got them. So it's so many different variations of that. Does anyone else have questions or comments? Mr. Healy, you have anything that you want to add? We're coming down to, we got about 4 minutes left. So Parker,
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just want to tell you, sir, I'm glad you fulfilling your assignment on this earth, what God sent you to do. And I think if we can definitely reach other people to let them know that what you have is valuable as well, they can start filling in the other missing pieces. We can't do it all, we can't reach them all, but just to inspire other people that despite what your past was, it doesn't stop God's present use of you. And I think that's one of the biggest things. People have been told about the consequences of doing this and the consequences of doing that, but really don't talk about the love of God that they should see through that. It didn't stop you. I've been to jail, didn't stop me. I was homeless, it didn't stop me. I've been through 3 divorces, didn't stop me. I got 7 kids, didn't stop me. I mean, no matter what that people might say, your past, but it's not stopping me from God's plan.
That's
God's
right.
plan still took over and interjected and propelled through this area a change which would help a lot of people see, which changed a lot of the drug dealers see that jail is no longer going to be an option. Me making this world a better place is better. And I mean, just seeing them, the transfer, why would you use me? Why did you use me? And he said, your problems are your ministry. That's your ministry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're able to reach all these people, that nobody else could reach, or people who, the transparency, able to reach these people that think that they have no hope, because I went down the wrong path. And I think this goes back to the church. It goes back to the church. That's where our first love should be. Our first love should be seen in the church. There's no way people should be going to gangs and prostitution and all this looking for love. The church doors should be wide opening with open arms, ready to receive them, so they don't have to go to that. So yeah, I just think we got a lot of loving to know ourselves of Christ's love first us, for us to love other people and bring them out of that. So great job, sir.
And when
Thank
thank
you
you,
so much.
James. And when you talk about the church have to be more transparent, because if you've never been sick, how do you know God as a healer? If you've never been in trouble, how do you know him as a lawyer? It's certain things. Our test and our testimony is to save much people alive. So, Mr. Muhammad, as you're sharing and as you're working with these women, you're not coming to them from a place of something that you've read. You've coming to them from a place of experience. You know what I mean? So we all, again, his story, we all come from something. We've all had some type of experience that that wasn't on the goodness of ours, but it was God's grace and mercy that kept us and brought us through. So it's not always about where you start, it's how you finish. And all of that is through God's grace. When we were in Korea, Bishop Barnett preached a sermon, and what stuck out to me in that sermon, he said, thank God for what didn't happen. You know what I mean? We had a lot of things that have happened and has taken place. But when we think about those things in the totality of it all, it could have been so much worse. You know what I mean? You could have went into that state of depression, and that state of depression just messed your whole mind up, and you never came back to a sound mind or to the reality or basis of how to move forward. So when we talk again, as we're talking about stopping the violence, we want to stop the violence in all areas, in all aspects of life. But you made a very key point. You can only do that by one person at a time. So I appreciate you. We have we're a little over, but I'm gonna give you the opportunity. If no one else have any comments or questions, I'm gonna give you the opportunity, Mr. Muhammad, to have the last words.
One thing that I had a paradigm shift, and I went to Africa. And as we was growing up, we kept saying what they took from us. And they took our language, they took our religion, they took this, they took that. But when I went there, I realized what I had, what they didn't take, what God protected me from and with. And so I just begin to look at, what I have instead of what I don't have. And I mean, I think that whatever they took, we might not have needed, because God got a greater plan for us. And I see that more and more every day, that we a lot more creative. But I talk to people in Africa every day. We're a lot more creative because we've been in the fight since we've been here, but we ain't never stayed down. We always got back up. And so our imagination is great. We got a lot of creativity in us here in America because we was in the ring, but we never left the ring. So I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate my brother, and much love to everybody.
Yeah, may God's continual blessings be bestowed upon you. Thank you so much, Andrea. I appreciate you being here as well. Mr. Seller, did you have something that you want to say, Robert?
Thanks for calling on me, but no, I just appreciated Mr. Muhammad's testimony and words very, very much. And yeah, I wish there were more folks like Mr. Muhammad in all of the neighborhoods all around the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amen. Well, God bless you all. And until we meet again, may the Lord smile upon you. Next week, stay tuned. We'll have Miss Catrice Champion with us. So until we meet again, remain blessed, be well, and smile at someone, commend someone. Just tell somebody. And this is another thing about women. You say women don't want to deal with women. So with that whole concept, one of the greatest tricks the devil has been able to pull off is to keep women separated, because when we come together, we go to work.
Yeah.
And that is his greatest fear. So
That's
I
right.
don't have a problem with women. I minister with women, I fellowship with
That's
women,
good.
but I understand what the enemy is doing when it comes to that, when it comes to that division and that separation. But no matter what we go through, we have to stand, understand, and believe that in the end we win. So
That's right.
continue to do what you're doing. For everyone else that has attended, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and be a blessing to someone. Call someone and just say, "Hey, how you doing? I was thinking about you." Be a blessing to someone. Cook something to eat. Share it with a neighbor. I bought Girl Scout cookies, and Lord knows I wanted to eat all those Girl Scout cookies, but instead, real quickly, I got them together and I gave them some to my neighbor because they have little kids. But do something kind. He talked about humanity. Do something kind. Let us love on each other. Let us respect each other as we continue to move forward to make this a better world. Peace and blessings until we meet again.
God bless you.
God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, EJ. I appreciate you. Your technology skills are amazing.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Madeline.
All
Bye,
right. God
everyone.
bless.
See you next
Bye.
time.
Okay.
All right.